Andy Haga, head coach at William Campbell Generals, could be in the thick of this playoff race that's running in the Dogwood right now. There could be a playoff for the Dogwood District Championship. We'll know more about that after Wednesday's games. Coach Haga joined me on the Sports Buffet podcast. We talked about key players from his team, the Dogwood District, and much, much more. It's Andy Haga on the Sports Buffet podcast.
Always a treat for me to catch up with a longtime friend of mine, head coach of the William Campbell Generals baseball team, Mr. Andy Haga. And Coach, obviously so far it's been a pretty good year for you guys as you guys are fighting right at the top of the Dogwood District. And I know it was a battle of longevity the other week against Chatham, a 1-0 win in 9 innings. Talk about what you saw out of that game that you liked aside from the result.
Well, I thought our kids played really, really well defensively. I thought our pitching staff did a great job. We threw a couple of pitches at them. They both did a great job. Brandon West started out through 4 innings, was really solid, just gave up 2 hits. And then Jeffrey came in through the last 5 and didn't give up any hits. So it was definitely a pitching duel and a defensive struggle for both teams. But both teams played really well defensively, and it was a really well-played game.
I know it's been several years now, obviously, since you've been the head baseball coach at William Campbell. Do you really have the program the way you want it right at this point?
Yeah, I think so. We've got a really young group right now. We've only got 1 senior, and the kids have done a good job, and have had this group for a while. These kids are the group of kids that I've got now are kids that were really, really young when I took over. They were some of the first kids that we had that played on our B team, and so we've kind of been working with these kids for a while, and they're doing a good job.
Yeah, I was thinking too that at this point in the season, experience really helps. A lot of teams have been young. You talk about having a lot of young kids, but in terms of their age, how do you feel about them, in terms of the way they're playing? They're almost juniors, seniors, and, so forth and so on.
Right. Well, like I said, they are young, but a lot of them have seen some varsity time. We've got 2 juniors that started as freshmen, so this is their 3rd year of varsity. Trey Elder and Brent started with us as freshmen, and we've got a couple of kids that are sophomores that played last year as freshmen. Some kids that are juniors that played with us as sophomores. So, they're young still, but most of them have played varsity with us at least for 1 or 2 years anyway.
I don't know necessarily your philosophy in terms of small ball or big ball, but in terms of right now with the quality of pitchers you have in the Dogwood, with Osborne down at Gretna, Caruso at Appomattox, and they've got a slew of arms, Haynes at Chatham, Adams at Alta Vista, we could go on and on. How important is it to win games to where you might not be able to load up and get a big hit, but just moving the runners along?
Well, it's real important. And it's gotten even more important with the bat rule change. That kind of affected things a little bit. It's crucial. Like you said, the district's full of arms. Every day you go out there, it seems like somebody's throwing a good arm at you. So, if you can't do all those things, hitting on the runners and bunting and doing all those things to move the runners and all those fundamental things, if you can't do that, you're just not going to be successful. Just as an example of the game against Chatham the other night. I mean, that's basically how we won the game. We just got fortunate enough to get a kid on, bunted him over and, squeezed him in to win the game. So it's crucial. I mean, you got to be able to do that if you want to win.
You mentioned bat rule change. For people who may not be familiar, talk about it and talk about what it is.
Well, the VHSL semi-adopted it last year and then fully adopted it this year, where we have to use the BB core bat. It's basically the same bats the college team started using 2 years ago. And what they are, they've gone away from the old composite bats, and the bats are just not as hot as they were before, and it really makes the game play more like it does with wooden bats. They're not quite, they've got a little bit more life on a wooden bat, but you just can't play long ball anymore. There's been some home runs. Kids are still hitting home runs here and there, but it's not the way it used to be with the old composite bats. It's just a different game. like a National League game instead of an American League game. Really.
Right, I got you. If you've got a guy who is a quote-unquote got, maybe more power or wants to try to swing hard and swing for the fences, how important is it that, I don't want to say you kind of change him, but you get him out of that mindset a little bit, because once they leave you, if they want to play college baseball, those bats, if they're not the same, I know they've changed too. Are they the same?
Yeah, we're using the same bats now that they use in college, the exact same.
Okay.
That's one advantage if you've got a kid who is going on to the next level. There's no adjustment for them as far as the bats are concerned. They're going to have, a year or two under their belt with these bats, so it's not a big adjustment anymore for them.
But is it a case where you need to reteach hitting at all, or is hitting pretty much the same? The ball's just not going to go as far.
Yeah, I don't think you really need to reteach anything. I know personally, my philosophy and the way that I teach it, and I haven't changed anything. I don't really think you can change a kid as far as what they're doing in that sense, but it's definitely changed the way you sort of have to approach the game. That kid that you might not have wanted to bunt with a couple of years ago because you think, well, this kid, he can hit a 3-run homer here. You might be more inclined to bunt that kid now. So it's definitely changed the way we look at it as coaches, but I don't think it's changed how, you teach hitting the kids themselves approach. You're still trying to hit the ball hard and hit line drives and do all those same kind of things.
But with that being said, at the same time, we talk about the change in the bats. Caruso, Osborne, Adams, Hames, so on and so forth are going to be tough no matter what type of bat you're using. I take it, in your opinion, kind of touch on the aces of the Dogwood, if you would.
Well, I don't know where to start. The list is awful long. I know that. Like I said, the district's full of them. We saw Hames twice, and we're fortunate to score a few runs on him in their place, but got outscored. Really, they scored quite a few runs against us. A little closer game at our place, but there again, we didn't hit the ball off. We had one hit, I think, and that was in the ninth inning. But Dylan, we've only seen a little bit this year. I think he was a little injured, and first time we played him, we threw, I think, 3 or 4 innings, sort of in the middle of the game there. But we haven't seen him as much as we normally have. And we saw him last year, and he was, he's tough. He's really tough. Osborne kid has been lights out against us for the last 2 years now. He hit us at their place a couple weeks ago and beat us at our place too. So, the district's full of arms. There's no shortage of them, that's for sure.
I know back in the day when I was hanging around you guys in football and, hanging around Coach Cardellaro and everybody in basketball, people always think if you can get out of the Dogwood, you're not going to see anything you really haven't seen once you get to the regionals because the league's so tough. Does that apply to baseball as well?
I think so. At least I hope so.
Right.
It would be nice if everybody in the region doesn't have a Hames or a Caruso, but I haven't seen anybody else in the region play, so I don't know that for a fact. Mm-hmm. There's some good Shenandoah teams. 2 teams that played for the state championship last year came out of Shenandoah, so obviously they've got plenty of good arms and lots of talent up there. There's a couple of teams in the James River that are good. That district's gotten a lot tougher with the addition of Dixon and some other guys, but I'm sure the region's got plenty of arms.
As we head towards the end of the season and kind of the start of the second season with the postseason, what is one thing that you want to see your guys do a little bit better than they have been doing?
We just need to keep doing what we've been doing. I'd like to see our guys finish games a little better, maybe. We've had some games that we've been ahead and sort of lost focus a little at the end, but I think part of that is youth and those kind of things. We've gotten better as the years gone, as the season's gone along. I hope our pitching can hold up. We've got quite a few arms, more than we've had in the past, and right now they're all healthy. So we're hoping that they're going to stay that way as we start to the postseason here. But and we've also started swinging the bats a little better. So I think it's coming together for us right here at the end.
I'm an old school school guy to where I really like baseball, but a lot of people say it is a slow sport. In terms of even your players, how important is it that you kind of keep the game exciting, or at least talk them up to where, you mentioned you feel that you're having a little bit of a problem finishing games. I mean, do you feel that, I know this may sound dumb, but do you feel that they kind of get bored, just the pace of the game can kind of hurt that and whatnot?
Sometimes I think I do. Sometimes I think, and I've talked to some other coaches about this, to be honest with you, and I'm not sure it's not a generational thing.
Right.
Kids today just don't, their attention spans are not what they were, I think, maybe at some point. But the group that I've got are kids that have played a lot of baseball. This group that I've got been playing baseball together, and they play a lot of baseball, and they play, a lot of them have played some travel baseball, and, summertime, this and that. They've been around, they've been through the battles before, so I think it's something that they're used to, as far as that goes in a game situation. They've been around the game a long time, and they do a good job.
Well, see, I mean, I'm a different bird, because a lot of people want to see, they want to go up to a ballpark no matter high school, college, major league, whatever, and they want to see, 14-10 and the ball leave the yard 6 times. But I'll tell you what, I would have been in hog heaven if I'd been at your place the other week and seen a 1-0 game. I mean, I love that strategy part of it, but it seems like a lot of people, players included, want to bang out some things. And I know your pitchers don't want it, but I don't think a lot of people mind high-scoring games these days.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think a lot of people do like to see that. But like I said, with the rule change with the bats this year and last year, it's you just don't see that as often. There's been a few games like that this year. We've been in some games where we've scored some runs, and there's been some high-scoring games. We played the first time we played Appomattox, it was 15-10, I think. But at the same time, that's really not the norm anymore.
Right.
You've seen a few of those games, but Chatham and Appomattox played a 1-0 game in 8 innings. There's just been a lot of games. If you could go through the district and look at all the scores, there's been a lot of 5-3 and 4-2 and those kind of games. So for the baseball purists, I think they like it. Like you said, you would have enjoyed the game that I played the other night, because it was an exciting game. Even though there wasn't a lot of scoring, it was a well-played game.
Has the rule change of you can have the guys kind of as much as you want helped you, or do you like it, or did it not even really affect you since you're such a small school? A lot of times you're probably sharing athletes.
We do share some athletes, but I like the rule change, and I think it's helped us. Obviously we were able to do a lot more this fall than we were ever able to do. From a coaching standpoint, it makes it a lot easier, because you've got, I know this fall there were kids that I was able to work with one-on-one and do stuff with a lot more closely than I could have done. Obviously in the past I wouldn't have been able to do that at all. The core of the group that I've got now, there's only a couple of them that play football in the fall, so I was able to get most of them in, 2 or 3 days a week, and I like it. I like the rule change, and I think it helped us a lot.
Well, let's kind of touch on 2 other things out of that. How much do you feel that the guys playing football got helped out since they had such a long and successful season, only 1 game shy of the state semis? And part 2, with those guys that you can work with as much as you want, how important is it that they don't get sick of you, you don't get sick of them, and they don't get sick of baseball?
Well, to answer the first question, I think the football guys that we had were able to come in after football and get some work done. Luckily, we had a kind of a warm winter, so there were a lot of days, even in December and January, that we were able to go outside and get work done after football was over. So, I don't think those kids missed anything really. I don't think it hurt them, obviously. As far as the kids that didn't play, there were a few that played basketball, so they had a break. They had a break from me, I guess, during basketball season. So, I don't think it was. We didn't go, 5 days a week, and then we sort of talked about that. We didn't want the kids to get too burnt out, but we still wanted to get plenty of work done, and I felt like we did that.
Do you feel feel like and you've coached other sports as well, do you feel like that the new rule of being able to practice essentially year-round with the exception of a few weeks here and there is also challenging to the coaches in terms of, I remember talking to a couple football coaches who said they weren't going to have their kids practice all year round just because they don't do that. They want to give their kids time off, and they don't want to get sick of their kids, and they don't want the kids to get sick of them. Do you feel that it's also put a new challenge to coaches in terms of, how much do I go, what do I do, when do I do it?
Yeah, I think it's something that you got to consider, because I think you could overdo it.
Right.
And from our standpoint too, as far as arm health and all that kind of stuff, it's not like you want to take a kid and just throw him and go him and go him year round.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some aspects of it that are different that would be challenges that we never had to think about before. That you definitely have to take into consideration as far as how much is too much or how much is enough and all that kind of stuff. So it's added some elements to it that we really didn't have to think about before. But I think they're good elements. I think it's better to be worrying about practicing too much than worrying about not being able to practice enough.
Oh, I totally agree with you. And the smart guys like you can figure out this stuff a lot easier than the dummies like me. But at the same time, too, with this situation of having all year-round practice, so to speak, do you change in terms of, because I assume when you could just do conditioning, it was more of weightlifting, running, things like that. Did you scrap that all together, or is that still part of your? Basically, I guess what I'm saying is what you could do before the rules changed. Do you still want to do? You just don't want to throw and hit and everything every day, right?
No. We still focused in the fall and winter. We still lifted and did all of our conditioning stuff. It was just a matter of we did that part of it basically just like we'd always done it. And then the difference was that when we were finished doing that, we were able to go outside and do some baseball stuff, whereas in the past we couldn't do that. So we didn't really change our focus as far as our off-season conditioning and all that kind of stuff, our weightlifting, our strength training and all that. That pretty much stayed the same. We just, like I said, we were able to, say at 4 o'clock when we were finished doing our lifting, we were able to go outside for another 30 minutes or 45 minutes or an hour or however long we wanted to go and actually do baseball stuff. Hitting, fielding, throwing, whatever we wanted to do.
Coach, as always, it's a treat for me to talk to you. We'll do this again very soon, and best of luck as we head down the stretch.
All right, Bob. Thanks a bunch, man. I appreciate it.
Andy Haga on the Sports Buffet.